At this point, if you're watching this video, then you have heard about the situation that is in regarding the Little Mermaid and Disney deciding to reinvent the story by casting a black woman, the actress Haley Bailey, as the Little Mermaid Ariel, instead of what Ariel was in the original Disney The Little Mermaid. And it's a very interesting, a very tricky situation that Disney has put themselves into, and the way that people have been reacting to it, and specifically to the trailer that Disney released about it. Basically just a 1 minute and 20 1 minute and 30-second trailer of Haley Bailey just as a mermaid swimming in the ocean and singing like the chorus of the most iconic song in the Little Mermaid movie. But that 1 minute and 30-second clip of that trailer has caused a lot of opinions from the internet. And if you don't know, if you're watching this for the first time, I've never seen my channel. Hi, I'm Princess, and I am an 18-year-old black woman. So that gives you perspective of where I'm coming from while interacting with the situation and interacting with the information that's been given to me and the trailer by itself. And this is what I'm planning on talking about in this video. This video might be long depending on how much I have to say about it, but I am currently looking at my notes and I have pulled out the main points that I've heard from watching others' reactions to the trailer. And I've put it down to two sides. There's one side and there's a second side. And I've also pulled out some references and comparisons that the two sides have been putting up together, have been bringing up, basically, that compare, bringing up, the two sides were. And I have brought references and comparisons that I've heard from the two sides about what they think, and how do I say this, but they use these other shows or movies as points to why they think the way that they think. And basically what I'm planning to do here is not give a clear answer to somebody or tell you how you're supposed to be feeling, but just bring out those two sides and then bring out what I think about those two sides and what my opinion and how I view those two sides in my point of view as an 18-year-old black woman living here in America. So hopefully this video is not too long, but if it is, then I apologize, but you knew what you were signing up for when you clicked on this video and you saw the link. Anyways, first thing, I'm going to talk about the most prevalent side about this situation and that's the side that completely hates the idea of the Little Mermaid, Ariel, being black. And specifically what they have been talking about from the people that have been watching. Fun fact, the people that have been watching were specifically white males, but not gonna say nothing about that. But what they've been bringing up to it is, first they've been saying that race swapping is bad because they're only doing it for the money and they are not genuine in their attempts of doing it. And I found that very interesting due to the fact that I don't think race swapping is necessarily a bad thing. I think most white. Yes, I'm making this so white and like black situation because it is. That's what it is. That's plain and simple, no matter how you want to see it. But race swapping is not entirely bad, in my opinion. It's how most of non-white or like people of color have been interacting with movies like The Little Mermaid in its original form, where it's a white mermaid, or how any people of color have been interacting with any medias that had majority cast of white people. And I think, in my opinion, that race swapping, the idea of putting yourself, the way that you look, into a character that does not look like you, so that you can feel, so you can relate to that character more, is not entirely a bad thing. And I think that was the main, that was like, I think that is the main thing of what race swapping is putting yourself into that perspective where you know that you don't look like the person that you're seeing, but you want to relate and be what they are in the movies. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And the fact that they're saying that right now, the fact that this side of who I'm talking about is saying that they're race swapping just for the money, and it doesn't seem genuine, can sometimes seem a little bit desensitive and arrogant, to put it plainly, because like every movie that comes out, they're talking about like they're doing it only for the money and it's not genuine. Every movie that has ever come out is made to produce profits, to make money. I don't know what you think a movie is or a show is, but its whole point is to make profits, is for people to watch it. That is the whole reason why movies and shows exist, or books or arts are made. When they put it out to public and sell it, they want to make a profit, they want to make money. So just saying that race like swapping is bad because they're only doing it for the money is, again, a little desensitive and a little arrogant, because that's looking at the situation, the idea of race swapping in just one way, that is not taking into consideration what the other side might see it as. And second point that they've been saying is that swapping The Little Mermaid from a white girl to a black girl is disrespectful to the original material and characters. And the second thing, like the next point, kind of goes into hand what I wrote, is they have made too much changes to the core of the main characters. And this is also an interesting point. Disrespectful is, I don't know how to say it, but when the ways that I've heard it from the people who are arguing that the race swapping and this thing is not good, they're using like it being disrespectful to them, using the word disrespectful to the original material and characters sounds off to me, not gonna lie. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just, I get it. I get that when you've grown, like, we all know The Little Mermaid. We've all known her as a white girl. All grew up with The Little Mermaid, the whole sea kingdom being white with light skin and all that. And I can see where some people might come at it, that's saying, oh, why did you have to change it? There was no point in changing that. Is so disrespectful and all that. I get that. I understand, because most of these shows, most of these movies has been grown up. We've grown up with it. Majority of people who are talking about it are people who have grown up with the movies and have grown up with the fairy tales that Disney has given us with these characters. And I get that some people seeing that change and that the changes in the characters that they've grown up to, they see it as an disrespectful act against what they've known for the majority of the original material's existence. And I get that. It's just sometimes change is good. I'm not saying that too much changes where you don't even recognize the what's it called? You don't even recognize the you can't tell like sometimes when it's too much changes where you don't recognize like the story that it was created from in the beginning, where it's not even the Little Mermaid. I understand what's it called? How do I say this? When it comes to the extreme where they have completely changed the whole entire story and it doesn't even relate to the Little Mermaid that was created before, I can understand how they can be upsetting. I would honestly be upset too. It's just we haven't seen the show. We haven't seen the movie. All we have seen is a 1 minute and 30-second clip trailer of the actor just swimming around the sea singing the chorus of the song. I would have more of an opinion to say if it was disrespectful or not on the changes that they've made to the story. If I actually have seen the changes, I would most likely have a bigger, like a much more, much more extended opinion on that matter once I actually see the movie and see how much they have changed it, see if the changes is too much where I can't even recognize who the main character is. But at this point in time where we only have that little limited amount of information, saying these changes to the core character, all of the changes we known for the Little Mermaid has been that the actor is now white. I don't even think they're gonna change most of the songs, and I've seen that they're saying that one of the changes they're gonna make is that they're not gonna focus on the love story, but more of Ariel's personal growth and stuff like that. And I don't see that as something bad. That, if done right, can be an extremely good story and compelling change, and it can be good if it's done right. But I don't know. We haven't seen if it's being done right or wrong because the movie hasn't come out yet. So using the word disrespectful is it's too much for this point in time. You can say like upsetting that they're changing like a few things, but we only know a few. We don't know how much they're changing at this point. That's what I'm trying to say. So I personally don't know. Don't know how to. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the because I'm now talking in circles. But the next point that I've heard on the one side is that it is entirely one-sided. The race swapping, it is entirely one-sided. And I would like to say that that is completely wrong because, and hear me out, I know people hate to bring out the past because they say, oh, that was in the past, but we're now in the future. It doesn't count now, what they did back then, but it does. Because what they did back then is why we're talking about it now. But saying that the race swapping and changing white characters into black ones in the modern movie and TV show days, like in the 20 like in the 2000s and what's it called, and 2010 and 2020s, is entirely wrong, because race swapping is not a new concept. It's not a new concept. It's been going on for decades. There's a lot of shows that I personally cannot think of in my head, but I know there are, is of shows that has changed specifically black or people of color characters into white characters, and those are not just characters from like the what's it called, the 1930s or 1950s. There's some who were changed, like there's some like characters that were changed from people of color characters to white actors playing that character in the 2000s, like 2010s, and even in the what's it called, not in the 2010s. I haven't seen one that's coming 2020, like the 2020s, because that's been too recent. But there has been, race swapping is not a new concept. It's just now it's white people being replaced. Before, when it was white people replacing people of color, nobody had a problem with it. There was not this big of a backlash when it happened to people of color, and that is the funniest thing with this whole situation, because people are saying it's one-sided. They're saying that what happens if we swap like the Black Panther and make him white? How? Like, you're just proving what you think. But right, like you using the Black Panther as what's it called, to help your point, saying that they wouldn't like it if we made what's it called, the main character of Black Panther into a white man. But the thing is, there's been a lot of movies that's been like of African core, or like movies where they're in the jungle, or you have to fight some kind of animal or something like that, where how do I say this, where you're like in Africa, but they have made those characters white. There's been a lot of movies, like even, and I'm saying this might be too late, but this might be too back, but there's been like movies that's from the 1950s, 1960s, 1980s even, related to Africa, or like a character from Africa, from South Africa or North Africa, but instead of making that actress who's portraying that character from that region as a black man, as a black woman, it has been played by a white man or a white woman. Even if it's a character from China, from Asia, but instead of being played by a Asian woman or an Asian man, it's been played by a white woman or a white man. That has happened. It hasn't multiple times, more times than what it is happening right now. There's been like dozens of movies where that has happened, where the race of a person of color character changed into a white actor playing it. It is not a new concept. It is not something that the black community or the people call like Disney created. It's not. It's not something new. It has been happening for decades, and the people who are like talking about this side, the people who are being outraged that the Little Mermaid is not a black woman instead of a white woman, have said nothing when it was happening before. That's the funniest part. It's hilarious. At least I find it hilarious. It's like nobody said anything. It was not even a discussion when it happened before. The black community, the people of color, like what's it called, Asian community, they were talking. They were saying, why is this character who we know is from Asia, Japan, or like Africa, North, like South Africa, North Africa, in the jungle? Why is it being played by a white character, like a white actor? Those communities has been talking about that for decades. Nobody listened to them. But now that it's white people being replaced and race swapped, now that it's a problem. And now they're saying, oh, now it's now it's a one-sided, because now white people can't do that no more. That's why they're so mad. They're so mad because now they can't do that no more. Now they can't play, they can't change, specifically, like colored people into, they can't make white actors play them no more. Because now, if they do, then they will be scrutinized, but they weren't scrutinized before when they were doing it for decades. It is not one-sided. It has never been one-sided. Before, it was one-sided because before, it was white people playing colored characters. That's how it's been. It's only recent that it has changed. Only recent. Okay. Anyways, the other point that the first side has been saying is that the media is blaming. They're saying it feels like a blaming game now, that whenever they bring up criticism to the actual material of the thing, that instead of seeing them as criticism, they're being seen as racist or sexist because they're using and that was my last point. They're using they're saying that these big TV like channels like Amazon Prime for the Rings of Power, or The Little Mermaid for Disney Plus, and She-Hulk is using diversity and race as a shield from criticism. And I feel conflicted by that point, because I do see where they're coming from. I do see that there are stories like She-Hulk or Rings of Power that do lack the main, good writing. They lack good writing. And that whenever they're criticized for the writing and the dialogues and the changes that they've made to the story from the books, and not just the character, how they look like, is not good. And I personally have never watched Rings of Power or She-Hulk because I don't have a Disney Plus membership, and I don't have an Amazon Prime membership. And I have watched reviews of She-Hulk and Rings of Power. I've watched clips and the trailers and stuff like that. So my opinion on these points is not going to be entirely valid or entirely you don't have to take my opinions on these points, because I will not know the details of the shows on how bad the writing is, or how misused the characters of the diverse characters are being used, instead of making them as real characters that are human. And what they're saying the characters are not even real characters, but they're just statures to set an agenda, or they're just figureheads and are thrown at your face saying here's diversity, and nothing else is being given. And since I haven't watched the show that they're being used as that they're using as comparison to what they think is going to happen to the Little Mermaid movie, I can't exactly say if it's true or not. But I do want to say that it is not wokeness that is the problem, or diversity in race. If you want to blame something, blame the writing. I guess they're doing that, but don't use those previous shows and what's it called? How do I say this? Don't use those previous shows as and like be like and use that as speculation for what the Little Mermaid is going to be shown, because that would be kind of prejudiced and can seem like, oh my god, how do I say this? Because then I'm going to be sounding like, oh no, you're blaming us for like actually giving criticism. But no, I'm just saying maybe the Little Mermaid might be different. Maybe the Little Mermaid, maybe they put actual thought in writing the stories for the Little Mermaid. How do you know it's going to be the same concept for the Rings of Power and the She-Hulk series? You don't know. All you're using to show that it's going to be the same is that it's made from the same company, but there might be different directors and writers for each shows. You can't be entirely sure. You can't be 100% correct when the movie hasn't come out yet. There hasn't even been more clips from the show and how the dialogue is going to sound like. The teaser didn't say anything. So why are you jumping to conclusions that it's going to be exactly the same as before? The problem is not wokeness. The problem is not wokeness in the other shows that you've seen, and like She-Hulk, like Rings of Power and She-Hulk. It was not the wokeness. It was not the fact that they brought diverse people, like characters into it. It was that they didn't know how to bring those characters to life. That was the problem. Stop blaming race swapping. Stop saying race swapping is bad. It's not the race swapping. It's not the characters changing color. It's the creators not knowing how to bring those characters to life. Like, come on. That's a little childish. And I'm sorry, I don't want to blame you. I don't want it to seem like your criticism is not being taken seriously. Okay? I understand your point. I do. Just wait until the movie comes. Wait until the movie comes, then you can create an opinion. That's what I'm doing, at least. I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to be like, oh, because Rings of Power and She-Hulk has been this way, that means it's for sure going to be the same thing for the Little Mermaid. Of course. I don't know that yet. I don't know how the Little Mermaid is going to be like. I will only know once it has come out and I have seen it, where I'll have time to create a true opinion based on the presentation of the material itself, not just a 1 minute and 30-second clip. Okay? Just wait like a few more months. Then you can say how bad or how great it was when the movie comes. Then, the last point that the side has been shown is that them releasing basically the same title movie like changing the main character into from a white woman to a black woman is entirely unoriginal and not creative, and it feels like a lazy cash grab. This goes with the first point that they said that they're only doing it for the money and it's not genuine. But now they're saying that it's not original, it's lazy, and it's just there to it comes off as too much of agenda driven. Basically, that's the last point that they're saying, and I don't know if it's going to. I don't know if it's the fact that they're saying it's not original and creative, and it's basically just there's oh my god, they're saying that it's not original and not creative because they see it as Disney ripping off from the original work. That's basically their point. I cannot speak, but to that, I would like to say that is entirely what is happening. Disney is trying to rewrite their own history by releasing the same title thing, but in a different perspective, with the character that looks different. They know that is what most likely the Disney creatives know that it can be seen like that, most likely, and it's not just Disney doing this, okay? Every adaptation or what's it called, or prequels or sequels uses the original material as a guide. But that doesn't mean that the prequels or sequels is not original or creative. Okay? Just because Disney is using the original Little Mermaid as as a reference point, because they know that everybody has watched The Little Mermaid, but now they're trying to write in a different perspective and changing just the color of the original character. They most likely know that they are being seen as unoriginal and uncreative. But how is that a bad thing? I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. It's just using that point. I don't even know what I'm talking about this, but I'm saying that yes, it does seem that they're being just ripping off the original characters, the original movie, and they're using the nostalgia of what people has connected to that movie, but they're now just remaking it. But the fact that they have made some changes to it, that debunks them saying that it's not creative or original. Most likely how I see it is that Disney is trying to rewrite their own history, because we know Disney has a racist history. Most of their most iconic or classic movies depicts people of color as in a really bad light, like terrible. But that was because Disney made those shows based on what people at that time wanted to see. They wanted to see black people suffer. They wanted to see black people as slaves. They wanted to see whites hide. They wanted to see white people being praised and being adored. But that is not the time that we're living at now. Okay? Because now, if that has happened, those people are going to be seen as racist, because now it's not just it's not gonna be it's not gonna be, people are not gonna pass by and not think anything of it. They're gonna have opinions, as they're clearly showing by this trailer coming out. But now Disney is writing stories based on what people want to see today. Today, people want to see people of minorities in fantasy. And Disney is trying to rewrite what people think of them as racist and undiverse by putting the people of color in those classics and and those classics and iconic movies, but trying to depict them in a much better light than what they were doing before. And I don't see that as entirely unoriginal and uncreative. I don't. Maybe it brings out an agenda, like a identity thing, but I don't see that as entirely a bad thing. But the one point that I would agree with is that how they are able to depict those characters in a different perspective, that's what matters. How they're able to write those characters into actual living characters and not just, because we know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. They're not trying to hide it. Okay? We know, I don't disagree that they're trying to rewrite what people think of, what people have been thinking of them before. It's just now Disney is releasing stuff on based on what people want to see now. That is my point. Disney is releasing stuff based on what people want to see now. No matter if they're actually putting effort into it. Okay? And one last thing that I didn't put in my notes is that Disney swapping the races of the characters but not focusing on the writers, the writing of it, makes their whole point of being diverse not good, because they're not actually trying to put the characters in a good light, because they're actually making people hate them. And they're not saying that about The Little Mermaid. They're saying that as comparison, they're trying to say that that's going to happen with The Little Mermaid because it has happened with the Rings of Power and She-Hulk. And as I said before, we don't know if that's going to happen again. If it does, then you were right. That Disney is focusing too much on just changing their history and changing what people think of them and not seen as racist, but instead pointing fingers at others when they criticize their own bad writing. But we don't know if that's going to happen with The Little Mermaid. We will just have to wait and see. And once it come out, you can stroke and you can say, yes, I was right. But hopefully, once The Little Mermaid does come out, I don't want people to be saying, oh, I don't want to watch it because it's going to be bad. Because we don't know. All we know is that they changed the race. That's all we know at this point. Okay? And yes, this video has been going on for a long time. But I don't know if I've made my point across or if I was actually clear in what I thought about it, because I was basically stuttering and I can't speak. It is 2 a.m. right now, but that is what I have been seeing from the one side of how people have been reacting to it. And one of the things that one last point is that they've been using the House of Dragons as a good example of how not to race swap something, but still bringing diversity and having black characters in the story without them replacing the white ones. But they don't realize that the characters in House of Dragons, the black characters aren't their main characters. They're most likely the side of supporting characters. And most of them, there's only a few. And even at that, if you want to go back to the Game of Thrones, or the books, the Game of Thrones, most of the people who are like colored, in that the Targaryens or the Snows, where they're in like most of the colored characters in the books and Game of Thrones were written as slaves or something like that. They were not depicted in a good light either in those shows. They were not put as the main characters. They were put as a side, or there was only a few picked out. And I know some people were mad when that little, what's it called? That Valerian guy turned out to be black instead of white. I know some people were mad, but now that there's more shows where like there's more black people, they're like, oh, see, this show doesn't take away from the white characters. They don't change the white characters into black characters, but they're still creating, like, come on. And I'm not saying this to bash House of Dragons or Game of Thrones. Those are my favorite shows right now. I'm currently obsessed. But I'm just saying, you gotta see that, right? You gotta see what you're saying. You're saying that you like that show because they're not changing the white characters into black ones. Or if you're saying, oh, you like the fact that they're not changing the white characters into black ones unnecessarily. Unnecessarily. What do you mean unnecessarily? What do you mean by that? Come on. Black people can be in fiction too. They don't have to have a reason to be black to be in the story. Come on. What do you mean by that? Say more. Like, unnecessarily. And then they're saying, we're not the one bringing race into this. You're the one bringing race into this. Because you're the one changing the characters. And your whole point of what you're celebrating, that you're changing the characters into black. And oh my God. Come on, you gotta hear yourself. I know that some of them, there's some who are actually giving valid criticism and are actually concerned that they're not gonna, like, the Little Mermaid is gonna ruin the character that Disney is gonna make people hate Ariel as a black woman, right? But I know that there's some who are just angry that they're changing the character race unnecessarily. They're like, I saw a comment saying that they changed the character no matter what we wanted. We didn't want this. They just did it. Okay, fine. Your opinion is valid. You didn't want the characters to be black, but why though? Like, I don't even know if I can go in deeper depth because I'm gonna have to do like a lot of research to bring my thoughts of what I'm thinking to be clearer than what I'm actually saying. But hopefully I was able to say enough to where people can have a hint of what I'm saying or understand a little bit, because I'm not very good with words. But yes, that is basically what I wanted to say. Hopefully, there's some people who have come to a conclusion after watching this video. I just said my opinions and what I thought about the points that was being made in regards to the Little Mermaid situation. So, yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you want more rants like this, I would gladly do it. Thank you. Now, let's wait for the movie to come out before you say anything in the comments.